back with, this should be 2 books in one review, but I don't fully remember what the one book is about. Hold on, let me pull up the pictures of these books, but I'll try to talk about as much as I can remember. Don't know how much that is. I'm just going to show the picture for both of them. The first one is The Ghost and the Mystery Writer, and that is what it looks like. And then the one that I just finished, was it yesterday, day before yesterday? The Ghost and the Muse, and that is what that one looks like. I'm gonna try to talk about as much of The Ghost and the Mystery Writer as I can remember. Basically, it's a writer. She went to stay at the Marlowe house as I guess a getaway, a vacation. She's a ghost writer, but she went to the Marlowe house to a vacation and also to get inspired for her next book. Basically, all of her books were loosely based off of real life things that happened, like real life murders, and she just would change some stuff around. But all of her books were based off of things that happened in real life. She basically had a person show her in her sleep murders that happened, and she would write her book about those murders. But I'll get more into that in a little bit. But basically, another lady that was in, a lady that had moved back to town, this is a different lady, she ended up getting killed in the Ghost and the Mystery Writer. But before that, she didn't like Danielle, the lady that owns Marlowe house, and she made that very, very clear. She didn't like her, and apparently a lot of people didn't like her. She had a bad attitude and talked crazy to people. Danielle, I don't want to say she inherited, but she inherited a piece of jewelry. She was going to donate it to the museum, but then she changed her mind and she was just going to let them borrow it. And the lady that didn't like Danielle was a part of the museum staff, and she got mad at Danielle because Danielle wasn't going to donate the piece of jewelry like she had promised, and she was only going to let them borrow the piece of jewelry. So she didn't like Danielle. She got mad at Danielle. But they were doing a display about the ship that had came up in the last book before the Mystery Writer one, when I told y'all about the ship that came back to shore. They were doing like a display, and the necklace was a part of that because it was found on the ship, on the yacht. So they wanted that piece of jewelry to stay at the museum, to be a part of it, but she was just gonna let them borrow it. The lady that didn't like Danielle and had this bad reputation, she ended up getting killed. They were trying to figure out who killed her. The mystery writer, her muse, who came to her in her sleep, he showed her what happened to the lady that didn't like Danielle, her murder. That's how they ended up solving her murder, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think. She didn't, the mystery writer, her muse had been coming to her for many years, but she didn't know that he was actually not alive. She thought he was like a real person that came to her in her sleep. like a live person. But we'll get into all that in the next one, because that does not come out until the next one. See, like, this is where it gets a little, I don't remember everything. I don't remember who killed her though. So that's basically all that I remember from that one. The next one, the one that I just finished, The Ghost and the Muse, it came out that her muse was actually dead. He was somebody who was alive a long time ago, but not right now, but she didn't know that. He showed her another murder. A man got killed. Well, they thought that he just jumped off of the pier, but he actually got killed. Her muse showed her his death, but they still didn't know that it was a murder. He just showed her like the body. They had to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out that he was murdered. But at first it looked like he just fell off the pier and hit his head, but he had actually went to there. I guess there's a cafe on the pier. He went there, which I knew when I first started hearing it that it was a murder, but they were trying to figure out, like the cops and everything, they were trying to figure out what happened, and they initially thought that he just fell off the pier and hit his head. But he went to the cafe and he started eating something. He had a reaction to it. He fell off the pier and hit his head. He had an allergic reaction to it. But didn't know who did it, who put whatever in his food that he was eating. So once they figured out that it was murder, then they had to figure out how it was murder. And once they figured out that it was through something he ate, they had to figure out who did it. Like, it was going in so many different directions, but it ended up being, I know at first they thought it was because he was having an affair on his wife. I think at first they thought it was the girl that he was having an affair with, but it wasn't her. I think it was his wife. I think she got away with it though, and she played the victim. No, it wasn't the wife. Was it the wife? It was either the wife or, I'm not sure, but the Muse, he showed the writer, and they thought that he was like evil because he came to her in like an evil way, and he was like threatening Danielle because, you know, Danielle is like a detective, you know, helping to solve these murders and all of these books. But he wasn't actually a bad spirit. He was more or less misunderstood. He showed them his murder, and he knew Walt, the ghost that hunts the Marlowe house, who he used to own Marlowe house. His dad built Marlowe house. He knew him when they were younger and all alive. He showed how he was murdered, the Muse. But at first they thought he was a bad spirit, but he wasn't. But he showed how he got murdered, and then they understood him better. Either the wife or a man that he was working with put, because he was allergic to shellfish, swapped out, like he loved enchiladas, I think it was enchiladas, swapped out the enchiladas and put crab meat in the enchiladas, and he ate it and had a reaction, fell off the pier and hit his head. And they were trying to figure out, like I said, at first they thought that it was just an accident, but then they realized it was murder, but then they were trying to figure out who did it, how he would end up eating shellfish and he was very allergic. So that's what that was about. And the Muse, he helped. I really suck at this. Like, I should have done this shit earlier. They ended up finding out, I think it was the wife. I think she got away with it though. But they found out who did it. I'm sorry that I suck at this book review right now. Like I've said before, these are great books. I definitely need to get better about doing these book reviews and doing them as soon as I'm done listening to the audibles, because as you can see, I can't fucking remember. And now I'm on a completely different book, not The Ghost, but they're called The Ghost and the Mystery Writer, and that is what it looks like. And then this one is called The Ghost and the Muse, and that is what it looks like. I will be better in my next ones, but I just be trying to wait until I take my hair down, because I don't really want to be doing this with my bonnet on, but I might have to, because a lot of times when I get down listening to these audibles, I have my bonnet on. Like, I finished these ones one a week ago and the other one 2 days ago. I'm sorry that this sucked. I'll get better. Nonetheless, they're great books. Highly recommend. And I'm not even gonna say I hope you enjoy it, because you probably didn't. This shit is all over the place, but it is what it is. I'm not a book reviewer, but I like giving them anyway. I just need to do it as soon as I'm done listening to the audibles, because I cannot remember and I go on and start new books. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.